Consider what happens in a world without this deal. Without this deal, there is no scenario where the world joins us in sanctioning Iran until it completely dismantles its nuclear program. Nothing we know about the Iranian government suggests that it would simply capitulate under that kind of pressure. And the world would not support an effort to permanently sanction Iran into submission. Put simply, no deal means a greater chance of more war in the Middle East.
That was President Obama announcing the Iran deal back in July 2015. Let's talk about it now with the U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. Thanks for joining us again this morning. In the wake of the President's decision to decertify, the German foreign minister yesterday said that he believes that decertifying the deal is going to put us closer on a path towards war, echoing President Obama's comments right there. How do you respond?
Well, I think, Iran's not right now saying death to Germany. They're saying death to America. And I think that you have to look at the fact that this is not talking about the deal. This is talking about U.S. law. And what U.S. law says is every 90 days you have to reevaluate and see if it's still doing and still proportionate from where it's supposed to be. And when you look at their support of terrorism, when you look at the ballistic missile testing, when you look at all that they're doing with arms sales and things like that, they are not proportionate to what the concessions that we gave them, and it's something that we can make better. And
but you've also had the president's military advisors saying that Iran has been complying with the deal. Let's look.
Do you believe it's in our national security interest at the present time to remain in the JCPOA? That's a yes or no question.
Yes, Senator, I do.
Iran is not in material breach of the agreement, and I do believe the agreement to date has delayed the development of a nuclear capability by Iran.
That was General Dunford, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, saying Iran is not in breach of the agreement.
We're not saying they're in breach of the agreement. What we're saying is that of the sites inspected, no, they're doing exactly what they claim to do, but all sites haven't been inspected.
Decertifying implies that they're not in compliance.
No, decertifying implies that all of those other things that are in the UN resolution are not happening. Those are total violations. They are violating every single one of them. So this is U.S. law is not just part of the agreement. U.S. law talks about everything else, and it's good that it does.
They're not violating the four corners of the nuclear deal.
Well, I think right now we're saying no. As far as we see, they are in compliance of that part of it. But what we're saying is America still safe? Are we still okay with them doing all of these other bad things? And what you're seeing is everybody is turning a blind eye to Iran and all of those violations out of trying to protect this agreement. What we need to say is we have to hold them accountable. They can't be continuing to support terrorism around the world like we are seeing they do. They can't continue to test ballistic missiles, which will lead to a nuclear Iran. They can't continue to do arms smuggling in the way that they're doing. Are we really ready to have them become a North Korea? Are we going to allow that to happen?
So you're saying you believe that there are other dangers posed by Iran, but right now remaining in the deal is in the national security interest of the United States?
I think that's why you saw the president is staying in the deal. He's saying to Congress, can we make it better? What else can we do so that we can better protect Americans? And I think that his engagement with Congress is something that never happened under President Obama. They were never allowed to debate it. They were never allowed to discuss it. So now Congress is going to be fully engaged on the threats of Iran. These are all lessons learned from North Korea, every single one of them. Had this been done with North Korea over the last 25 years, we would not be in this situation. What you see is the president is trying to make sure that Iran doesn't become the next North Korea.
But if the president moves to, basically change the terms of the deal using Congress, what kind of message does that send to North Korea? Doesn't it send a message to them saying it's not worth it engaging in any talks with the United States? It
sends the perfect message to North Korea, which is we're not going to engage in a bad deal. And should we ever get into a deal, we're going to hold you accountable. We're not going to look the other way just because we think we've made a deal and we're not going to continue to watch it. We have to watch it. That's part of what we want to do is be tough, be strong, and hold anyone accountable.
What is the president's position on talking to North Korea right now? In the past couple of weeks, he had those tweets saying that Secretary of State Tillerson's wasting his time looking to talk to North Korea, but on Friday he said he's open to it. So what is his policy? Is he open to discussing the nuclear program with North Korea? Well,
what we're not going to do is what we've done for the last 25 years. We're not going to beg them to come to the negotiating table. We're not going to try and win them over with incentives and things like that. We need them to stop nuclear testing. and we need that to stop right away. And until then, until they show a willingness to try and be a good international actor, no, there's no conversation that needs to be had.
But if they stop testing, there can be talks?
Let's wait and see if they stop testing.
On that, the president, as I said, has hit Secretary Tillerson for wasting his time. Also reports that you and Secretary Tillerson are somewhat at odds. Politico says it's World War III inside the administration. Your response?
That's so dramatic. That's so ridiculous. No, I think what you have is sometimes Secretary Tillerson and I have different opinions, but when we come into the NSC, everybody has different opinions. At the end of the day, we present the president with all the facts, we let him make the decision, and we all as a team go out and support that decision. So I have my relationship with Secretary Tillerson or General Mattis or anyone else. It's all a great relationship because we are all looking out for the best interests of America.
There's some concern in the Senate that the president is not supporting his Secretary of State. We played that clip from Bob Corker, Senator Bob Corker, about World War III earlier. He also told the Washington Post later in the week, when you jack the legs out from under your chief diplomat, you cause all that to fall apart. He's talking about the credibility. Us working with Beijing effectively is the key to not getting a binary choice between war and appeasement. When you publicly castrate your Secretary of State, you take that off the table. How do you respond to Senator Corker?
I think that's his opinion. What I can tell you is what I know. And I have seen the President and Secretary Tillerson work together. They work very well together. They talk through things, and then they manage it properly. So, you know, if there's an issue, I haven't heard about it. What I will tell you is I think that they are going through trying to protect America's interests. They've been very effective. If you look at the way we've been able to combat ISIS in Iraq and Syria, the way we're dealing with North Korea now, the fact that we're taking on Iran, and then how we've developed so many more allies than what we had before. When you look at Saudi Arabia, when you look at Egypt, when you look at all of these countries now that we're having dialogue with that we haven't had a lot of dialogue with.
Our European allies don't agree with what the president's done on Iran.
Our European allies need to remember they're not the ones the threats are coming to. And what they do agree is that Iran's in violation of all those things I mentioned. They absolutely agree. They also absolutely agree those things need to stop. And now you'll see us going forward talking about those things to bring Iran in compliance, not just of the deal, but of the international community and what's expected to be a good community citizen.
Ambassador Haley, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
Up next,